Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's Theresa here. Today I'm sharing a project life layout with you from 2020 for Thanksgiving, and I'm using the Traci Reed Foodie collection. So this is a great collection for any layout that has to do with food, with eating, with having good meals and sharing meals with your loved ones. And so I thought it would be perfect for a Thanksgiving layout. This is from 2020, and so this was right in the middle of some of the worst of the pandemic, and I thought that this collection would help keep the layout light, because it's really easy to get bogged down in the anxiety that we were going through at the time. But what I wanted to remember about this time period was that we laughed and that we spent time together as our family, as our little unit of 10 people or less, and we had a wonderful meal together. We had all the food that we love. Look at that beautiful spread on the kitchen island. And most importantly, we were safe and healthy. And I know a lot of people have a different way of framing that. Some people call that blessed, some people call it privileged, some people call it lucky. I just call it thankful. And so even though the Foodie collection is a collection about food, and let me tell you, when Thanksgiving rolls around, our family turns into foodies. And so that makes it entirely appropriate, but I still wanted to find ways to incorporate my thankfulness into this layout. The Thanksgiving layout for me each year is typically the last one in my album, and then I'll do a closing page. I end with Thanksgiving Day for my annual Project Life albums. I don't include December in my Project Life albums because I usually do a December daily album. And so this is a layout that gives me an opportunity to reflect. I've already, of course, printed out the photos that I wanted to use. We did a mini photo shoot in the backyard, and that gave me an opportunity to include photos of each of the children. Interestingly enough, I didn't get photos of myself and my husband out there, but we had taken a few throughout the day, and so I used one of him and I together so that everybody is represented on the page and everyone finds themselves here on this day and in our home and celebrating this day with us. So I'm starting out with a journaling card that I actually made from one of the pattern papers in the collection, and it's a beautiful, soft-toned wood grain. And then in Photoshop, I added a little white rectangle over top of that so that I would have space for my title. And then my favorite element from this collection were these little kitchen utensils and food and just little items that you find randomly sitting on your kitchen counter. This is what this reminded me of. You know those moments when you stop in the middle of all the cooking and you look around and you go, oh my God, what a mess. But it's a beautiful mess because it smells good and you know the food is going to taste good. And that's sort of what I was creating here, is this little random counter with all the random elements sitting on it. And so I added the little washi strip across the bottom of the wood grain that represents the counter or the shelf, if you will. And then I just clustered those cute little elements on top. And then of course the white space here gave me room for the title. So I wrote out Thanksgiving, just very simple. This is what it is. This is, you know, it's not overthought, it's not overcomplicated, just simply Thanksgiving using some Cocoa Daisy alphabets. And the word Thanksgiving didn't quite get centered on the card, so you notice how I added 2 hearts on the right hand side and just 1 heart on the left hand side, and then it's not so noticeable that that's not centered. And honestly, if you come after me because that Thanksgiving isn't centered, just don't. It's okay. I never force perfection on these layouts. They're simply what comes to me and what I love doing at the time. So I'm going to move forward here, and I printed a couple of the embellishments from the collection. One of the things I love about hybrid scrapbooking is that it lets you pick and choose what you want to print. Of course, Traci always includes printable sticker sheets if you get the sticker packs. And it's easy enough to run those through. There's usually 3 or 4 sheets. And it is pretty easy to run those through your printer, run them through your Silhouette. If you need tutorials on how to print and cut using a Silhouette, let me know. I have some. I'm happy to make more tutorials about that. But for layouts like this, printing can get intensive because I printed the photos at home. I printed all the journaling cards. And so for layouts like this, I plan out in advance kind of what I'm planning to use. So I did one of the little round circle bits and stamped a little sentiment on that for the photo about myself and my husband, Alan. And then for each of the children's photos, I'm going to keep that embellishment very simple and just do a chipboard at the bottom of each of their photos. And the chipboard pieces that you see, those are both from Cocoa Daisy from 2021 collections. And I'm just going to add those for a little bit of dimension and just a little bit of something extra, because I'm extra and I like to add a little bit of depth to some of these photos. This is a great, of course, you need space for journaling. I always make sure in my Project Life layouts, use a 4x6 card for journaling and use at least 1 or 2 3x4 cards for journaling. And then you can also incorporate journaling on your labels throughout your layout if you want to. But I usually figure that's a good amount. 1 4x6 card, 1 or 2 3x4 cards, especially for a layout here that you see is 1 day. If you're including a whole week in a layout, you might have more journaling, but for this layout, it was just 1 day. And actually, I mean, the food prep usually takes us 2 days, 2 or 3 days. We start 3 days before Thanksgiving. We go shopping, so hopefully we're beating the rush, and then we start making stuff that we can ahead of time. But for the most part, this is about Thanksgiving Day itself. I think it would be pretty cool to do like a day in the life for your Thanksgiving prep or for Christmas prep. But I've never done those projects. I've never done day in the life before. And I consider Project Life week in the life. But anyway, I'm moving off topic here. At the bottom left-hand corner, there's a photo of my husband and our cat, Nico. He is about as feral of a cat as you can get, but he pops in every once in a while, and we feed him, and he'll take a cuddle, and then he'll leave again, and we'll see him another month later or something. That's just how he is. He's very independent that way. But he stopped in for a visit, so I had to capture a picture of him, and I just added a little plaid label and a little word sentiment. It's just kind of special whenever he shows up, and it makes a special day even more special. So I think that's most of the highlights from the left-hand side, and then I've moved here to the right-hand side. I hope that I've kind of changed how I do these process videos. because I realized somewhere along the way that I was moving the side I'm working on up, and so you couldn't see it come together. But I hope that you can see me working on it on one side of the lens, on one side of the camera lens, and see the layout coming together on the other side of the viewfinder here. I hope that makes sense. But for the right hand side, of course, continuing with the Foodie collection and just adding the little bits here and there. I used a little circle banner with the photo of myself and my child. This is our youngest child, and they had made, they wanted to make those little Pinterest turkeys. So I made a point of photographing them and myself with these cute little turkeys that we all pitched in and made together. That was fun, and that's a highlight of that particular holiday as well. And let that be an encouragement to you when something new is shared, or there's a new platter or a new dish or a new idea, to include that in your layouts and tell more of the story. Oh yeah, that's the year we made those cute little turkeys. And years down the road, you'll go, let's do that again. If I was really on top of it, guess what I would do if I was really on top of it? I would include the little pin of that, or tuck it behind there, the little pin of how we made those. And I may still go back and do that. That would be an extra detail that you could add as well. I'm just trying to reimagine these layouts to say, here's new details to include. Here are some additional items that you can tell, or things that you can tell about what happened that day. Even if, and I'm gonna venture into COVID waters, even when it's a quiet holiday, and I'm gonna just say that we've had quiet holidays for quite a few years where it was just the 6 of us. And there's a couple of different reasons. I'm not going to go into any details about why that is or anything. But for one thing, it's less anxiety. and it's just quieter and calmer for us. And so this Thanksgiving wasn't really any different in terms of it just being the 6 of us. But it was different in terms of, whoa, we're going through a difficult time as a planet. And look at us, we're still doing okay. And so I'm going to come down here to the last journaling card here in the last pocket on my page. And this is where I wanted to write about my gratitude for this day. And I've stressed through the process of documenting 2020 and 2021, I've stressed the importance of everyone being able to document these significant times in the way that they feel most comfortable. And so for me, it's meant using everyday, ordinary collections, but also including reflections about what is happening at the time, so that it's still documented. It's just not, I'm not documenting statistics. I'm not documenting healthcare crises per se. And that's okay, because that is anxiety inducing for me. But I am going to write just a couple of sentences about just recognizing how fortunate we were that we were still healthy. I don't know why that is. I'm thankful for it. I don't know why some families went through terrible, terrible times. And I can't explain that. I know that I think that for most of us, we learned that life truly can turn on a dime. And for me personally, I've known that since I was 19 years old, when my dad died, and life turned on a dime for me in that moment. It was just an ordinary Wednesday, and I went to choir practice, and I came home, and I found out that my mom was looking for me, and she called me on the phone, and she said, "Don't leave your dorm room. Somebody's coming to visit you," which freaked me out. And sure enough, an hour later or whatever, there was my pastor telling me that my dad had died. And life turned on a dime for me that day. And many of us have experienced other times in our life where life turned on a dime. And I think that happened with the pandemic as well. Life just suddenly changed overnight. And it was unexpected, and nobody knew really what to do or how to cope with it. And that was just another reminder. But I was so thankful that during that time, and especially reflecting now, looking at just reflecting again about how fortunate we were, and just I'm glad that I'm alive to tell that story today, and definitely enjoyed using this collection to tell this story. I love how the colors are bright, and it kept a brighter feel to this layout, because you can go through hard times and remember that there were still some laughs throughout that. And I think that's what we're in the practice of doing. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate you listening through my whole process here. There is a blog post associated with this. I will have product links down below. And I'll see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.